hearing what Ms. Kim has to share with us today. All right. Yeah, Ms. Kim, we just have a few. Ms. Kim, I keep calling you that.
I know, and I refer to myself as that. Makes people crazy, I know. But that's the way I am, my friend.
That's who you are. We just have a few people who are still connecting, so we'll just give it another moment here. We want to just get the ball rolling here for day 2 of the Grow Where You're Planted Conference for Military Families, brought to you and hosted by MFS US. We are so thrilled to have you all joining us today. As you know, this will be recorded and shared in an after session as well with you at the end of the conference. So thank you for registering. Thank you for joining us yesterday if you were with us. We had some amazing speakers yesterday, and we were just thrilled to line up in general. The person with us this morning is the one and only Miss Kim, as we affectionately call her, Kim Dixon. Kim is coming in today from the Greenwood Military Family Resource Center in Nova Scotia, and I have had the pleasure to work with Kim both in person and, of course, through this conference. Kim is the child and youth coordinator and parenting guru in Greenwood, and has been there for long enough. We won't age Kim by saying how long, but Kim also was in Moose Jaw before that and has a wealth of knowledge around parenting during challenging times. Maybe not a pandemic before this year, but Kim has not only successfully run a number of programs for families and parents and children to help them develop resiliency skills, to help them support and grow with their kids, and to have positive relationships with children. And I personally have been both a coworker and a client or a family under Kim's wing, and she certainly knows her stuff. So I'm thrilled to have Kim with us today. So thank you, Kim, for dialing in all the way from Greenwood, and I can't wait to hear what you have to offer us here this morning for the conference.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, how's it going? Are you good?
Good. I'm good. I think, yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
So thank you so much, Michelle. I'm really excited to be here. This is a wonderful opportunity to be able to talk with military families from way here on the East Coast, where if you were here yesterday, we had no power and we're enjoying a wonderful snowstorm. But just like parenting, hey, you never know what's going to happen. So like Michelle said, we hate to use that term, unprecedented times. It's become almost a bad word, but gosh, you know what? That's kind of what it is. So, you know, parenting, as we all know, is challenging. You know, it's challenging work. Parenting during this pandemic is like something we have never experienced, and it's difficult because, you know, what do we base it on? Who do we talk to about? We've only got each other on this. So I'm hoping today to talk a little bit with everyone about some of the tips and the tricks that I have used with my clients over the past, oh gosh, almost a year now we've been doing this. When it comes to parenting our teens, our little ones, and in our school age, because even though it's parenting, we all know parenting those age groups can be a little bit different. So we're just going to kind of go along with this. And if you have any questions at all, I can't wait to answer them. And if something comes to you later on, you know, please get a hold of Michelle, and she'll pass them through to me. And of course, you know, we'll get through this together.
Yeah, absolutely, Kim. I just wanted to mention that I typed in the chat, but if anybody has questions along the way, if they want to type in there or comments as we go, I'll pop in and out throughout the session to forward those up to you, Kim, okay?
Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
So as I said, you know that parenting is one of the most rewarding and challenging roles that any of us can ever embark on. Typically, it's something we've chosen to do, you know, but it's a daily adventure. There's highs and there are lows, and when they're really great, oh my gosh, you know, those are those moments that we share on social media and we hold on to for the times when it's been a little bit more challenging. With all those unique stressors, you know, you add the global pandemic and all the daily things that we deal with as parents. And I had one parent say to me, it's the biggest roller coaster ride she's ever been on. And that really summed it up for me. And that's why I wrote, it's the ultimate parenting roller coaster thrill ride, because you don't know what's going to happen next. And it's the highest of highs, and it's truly the lowest of lows. You know, when we're parenting, typically, there's all kinds of things that, you know, we hear the best practices from this person or that person. But parenting during social distancing, you know, we're the first generation in recent history to do this. And we're dealing with self-isolation and social distancing that for most of us, oh my gosh, this is the first time we've experienced it. It's the first time our children have experienced this. And we're going to find, and what I found talking with our parents over the last year, is that our kids who, for lack of a better word, were needy, they seem to need more and more time from us at a time when we don't have as much as we typically would have had to give to them. We're all dealing with, as parents, increased worry or stress regarding our money, health, just dealing with isolation. The social pieces that we had prior to dealing with this pandemic of visiting neighbors and friends and social groups and activities, for most part, have all been put on hold. So now we're finding ourselves truly isolated like we've never been before. I don't know how many of you are stay-at-home parents right now, but I used to, as a working mom, used to kind of envy the stay-at-home parent. I thought they had it all together. If ever there was a Pinterest parent in my world, it was that stay-at-home parent who made the muffins and went to play groups and, was on the PTA and did all those things. And oh my gosh, what a wake-up call it was for me to become an instant stay-at-home parent. And for many of you who maybe all of a sudden found that you are now working from home and doing all of your socialization from home. Now we have schooling from home. So many of us weren't planning on ever becoming an instant stay-at-home parent, and this particular pandemic has forced that upon us, which has given us a few more stressors to put in our backpack. Sometimes we may find that our teenagers in the home, I refer to my teenager who's 18 as the hermit in the house. Typically she would have been out and about and doing all the things that your typical 18-year-old would be doing. And probably like many of you with teenagers, you're finding that they may have kind of gone into their rooms or whatever special area of the house is theirs. And we don't see so much of them. They're kind of this dark shadow that comes out to eat and request things and then they go back in. And prior to dealing with COVID-19, a lot of us would never have allowed that to happen. We had very strict in our home, as in probably many of yours, restrictions on social media and time on their phones and all that stuff. And now what we're finding is those routines, those rules in the house have kind of gone out the window because that's their lifeline, just like it's become ours. So reestablishment of a new routine is key. Everybody, it really is key on making this particular moment in time as you're parenting as successful as it possibly can be. And I really encourage you to not only speak to your partners about this, but to speak to your children, in particular your teenagers, because I have found that involving them in that conversation about, what should we be doing as a family, because every time they come out and they see you on your phone or doing something on the computer, they're going to call you on it, and probably rightfully so. So it's good to have that open communication with them and your younger elementary school kids. So the kids that are in grades 3, 4, 5 and up, you're finding them, they're going to be also wanting to have a part of that conversation. And I'm a big believer in open communication in families. And, you sit down and you talk about what's going on. And as we'll talk a little bit further on in the presentation, why that's so important. And seeking supports for yourself, everyone, it's really important. And of course, we can Dr. Google ourselves to death, but there's a lot of people out there who are there to listen and offer any kind of feedback, advice, or if nothing else, just to be that person on the other end of the phone, or in this case, on the other end of the video, who can relate to what you're experiencing. Okay, so it's really important to reach out. When we talk about how things have changed and we became the instant stay-at-home folks, I wanted to talk a little bit about creating a more positive space. Now, before we had to deal with the pandemic, many of us went to work or we went to the gym. We had, go out with our friends for social opportunities and things like that. Our children went to school. But now that entire space has become our home. So we're needing to be a little bit more cognizant of creating a more positive space. When I'm at work, I may speak a little differently than I do when I'm home. I have nothing good to say about my computer at work, and I make that very vocal often, as Michelle will probably tell you from the days we work together. But I don't conduct myself that way at home. I'm very aware of the words that I use and the language I use at home, just as if my child was in the classroom. She may speak differently in the classroom and act a different way than she does when we're home. Well, now that we're all home, it's really important to be aware of using the positive language. It's so easy during these times and what we're watching on the news and our own frustrations of saying the I can't, it's stupid, I won't, there's no sense. I mean, if you could think of everything negative, chances are we've all thought it. And sometimes we forget that we're all in one big space now and we're using those words. The challenge is that our little people and our big people are hearing those words. So the negativity that we're spouting off, whether it's the fact that the coffee maker didn't work for the third morning in a row, or are you kidding me? Now I'm going to have to teach my child algebra? I haven't done algebra in 30 years. You know, this is ridiculous. No one's helping me on this. Those kinds of words and those kinds of conversations are there for everybody to hear. So I really encourage everyone to just be aware of the positive language and the importance and the benefit of using that. You know, we're going to use negative words. That's what it's like to be a parent. You know, we're not perfect. But if we can be a little bit more aware of that and model that behavior, model those words, and talk to our kids about that. You know, when you hear your child say, I'm never going to learn how to do this. I don't like being away from my friends. This is awful. It's never going to change. I don't want to do those types of things. That's when we have the opportunity as parents to kind of sit down and say, hey, I know it's rough. I know it's tough. I feel the same way. But if they can hear us modeling the words such as, you know, this isn't going to be forever, or, wow, I didn't realize I could do this now that I'm home, working from home. I have more chances to be with you, or, you know, it's kind of great we get to go to school in our pajamas today, which is kind of fun. We couldn't do that, you know, last year. So just being a little bit more aware of positive language. If anyone has ever heard of the stress stoplight, I'm a huge fan of that. That was something that I had learned quite a few years ago when I took the Friends for Life training and the Kids Have Stress 2 training. I use it with the kids that come into the center. I've used it in my parenting classes. I've guinea pigged my poor child when she was younger. I used it, had it on our fridge, an actual picture of a stoplight, just so that we could relate it to the mental health continuum and the language that's used there, with feeling like we're in the red and negative and upset, to transitioning to the yellow, where, you know, we practice those breathing techniques and, you know, we kind of talk to the people in the room about how we're feeling, and then relating it to the green, which is, oh, I'm good today. And if you've got a little person who's 3 or 4, it is one of the most effective ways to take their temperature on how they're feeling, making it everyday language. You know, how are you doing today? Oh, I'm in the green. Oh, gee, Mom, what does that mean? It means I'm feeling good and I'm happy and I'm feeling healthy and having a great day. When you find yourself feeling a little frustrated or anxious or worried, I'm starting to feel like I'm in the yellow. And when I have the rough days and I'm angry because my brother's done this or my sister's done that, or, you know, your dad locked the keys in the car, I'm feeling a little red. So using that as everyday language will really, really help you. And I encourage everyone, if you've got kids, you know, younger, to start now with the stress stoplight. Like I said, I have an 18-year-old. While the stoplight is no longer on our fridge, we still use that language. It's the most positive way for us to talk about how we're feeling without getting into a match of words over, this is awful, everything's kind of gone to the crapper kind of deal. We just use the stoplight language.
Hey, Kim, would you,
sorry?
sorry, no, I was just wondering, so for the stoplight, because we're talking about a variety of different age groups, obviously, and so starting young is the preference, but I think that there's some validity in maybe talking about how even as adults in taking our own temperature as
Sure.
we start the day. So I used that visual after I took our TMR training and also working with you with my littles, and it kind of comes and goes in our language, but we still refer to it. But for me, it was a great way way for me to stop as an adult and check my temperature. And even if it's not related to my parenting in that moment, certainly my mood can affect my parenting. So I just thought maybe speaking a little bit about how we can use that stress stoplight as checking our own temperature as parents as well.
Yeah, Michelle, that's a really great point. And Michelle, when we took, you're right, the RTMR training, and they were bringing out the mental health continuum, and we were learning about it, the first thing I thought of was, boy, that's basically what we're teaching our kids. And not too many of us are going to have a mental health continuum on our fridge, but the stoplight as parents, it's a good check. It's a good reminder of how we are in that moment, because you're right, when you're parenting, when you're parenting in the red is a whole lot different than you're parenting in the green, and keeping that visual around to be able, as Michelle said, to check yourself, give yourself a moment. Any of you that have ever had a parenting class with me will hear me say, when you're having those moments where you're feeling overwhelmed, you've got someone, I need this, I need this, I need this, or they're not doing as we would like them to do, our kids, I always say, the best way for you to take a moment for yourself is, and to get yourself in that yellow, and go back to the green, is to go to your kitchen sink and buy the most expensive or most beautiful smelling dish soap you'll ever have, or hand soap. Wash your hands. Sounds goofy, but I promise you, I haven't lost a parent yet with this. It gives you a moment to redirect how you're feeling and thinking. Wash your hands, not engage that little person in that negative behavior. But most importantly, it's a check-in for yourself. And when you have that visual, the stress stoplight on your fridge, for example, it's a good reminder of, how am I parenting right now? And let's be honest, through COVID, we're probably spending more time now in the yellow than we ever thought we would. The green moments are great, but the yellow, it seems to be where I'm finding a lot of people are dipping in and out of red, dealing with worries of money and health and travel restrictions and everything else. So I really encourage you to take a moment and make the stress stoplight with your kids. Kids as young as 3 and 4, oh my gosh, 11, 12-year-olds, they're happy to do that. And then have that conversation. And Michelle, I can absolutely send some of my notes that I've passed out to parents on the stress stoplight, through Kids Have Stress Too, to you, if anybody would like to have that stuff emailed to them. I don't mind at all.
That sounds great, Kim, and we can always have that link somewhere. People can reach out for that as well.
For sure. So as I said, discuss this stuff with your family, how you're feeling. How is school and work and the activities, how is it affecting everybody? Family meetings aren't something you just see on TV. Kids, if they're old enough to have a conversation, they're old enough to participate in a family meeting. And it might be something you do every Sunday night or every Friday at the end of the work week. But it's really nice to have those family meetings. And I know something that we did at our home, and some of our families do here after they've taken a couple classes, is we just keep an open binder, a scribbler on our counter in the kitchen. And everybody can scroll in there what they'd like to talk about at the family meeting. And during COVID, it's been really positive in our home as well. As an opportunity to sit down with your children and your partner and talk about, what's the week been like? What's on the go? Pre-COVID, it was who's going babysitting and what sport events you have to have, and do you have to take this class after school, and mom might be working late. Now what I find people at our house and my parents I'm working with in particular are saying is they use that scribbler, that notebook, just to kind of talk about what the week was like. What was the most challenging part of the week? What was the best part of the week? And what part of that week would you love to do over? And you will never find a better moment to connect with your family, with your children in particular, than when you have an opportunity to say to them, so what was the worst part of your week? And what would you like to do over? It just kind of opens up a dialogue. Okay? Michelle?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm just having a thing pop up on my screen. I didn't want to touch anything. I'm just going to cancel it. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely. No problem.
Okay. Let's click the next one here. And here we are. Here, that's my very stolen clip art of what a stoplight looks like. So we're learning how to identify and express our thoughts and our feelings so that we not only create a more relaxed and enjoyable atmosphere in your home, but the key is we're building our resiliency skills in our children. As military children, there's no better gift to give them than to feel empowered and resilient. You know, we're giving them the opportunity to learn how to cope with their stressors and the worries and the feelings that they're going to deal with, and they're going to have to be able to, I guess, muddle through and gain some experience on as military children, the lifestyles that we're dealing with. And of course, with this, you know, the social distancing in these uncertain times, it's great for us to be able to build that strength in our children. And I think we really are. You know, we're all out there looking for information on how to parent a little bit better, how to parent a little bit different. And I think at the end, we're going to find that the children that are coming out of these times that we're living with right now will have stronger resiliency skills than we ever thought possible, simply because we're more engaged than we ever have been. Teens, whoa. If you have teenagers, you know, they're a little tricky, but they're also probably one of the greatest little resources to have at home when you're wanting to talk to somebody about what's going on in the world, how it's affecting them. I promise if you ask them, they're going to have a conversation with you. It's just a matter of making sure you have the time to sit down and listen to them and what they have to say. You know, parents with teenagers, you may find it more difficult than ever to connect with them. Like I say, they're the hermits at the end of the hall, or they've got that phone in front of them all the time. They are literally online every single day because they're online learning with school. They've lost their sporting activities, most of them, or their extracurriculars. So now that phone or that computer has taken the place of the social gatherings that we were okay with last year. Of course, go to the school, hang out with your friends, go to the dance, do this, you know, enjoy volleyball, enjoy your committee meetings, but they don't have that right now. So they're also not hanging out with their friends outside typically anymore, or as much as they used to. So having that social connective piece for them by using their technology, whether it's a phone or a laptop or whatever they have, that's their lifeline. And it's really important for us to remember that that's how they're connecting, but we still want them to connect with us as well. So like I said before, reestablishing those routines and having those conversations with them about connecting is important. Oh gosh, how do you do that? How do you connect with a teenager, right? Some of the things that I've used with parents here in the past year has been finding an online game. Now, on most of our smartphones or our iPhones, there's those little game areas, like there's cup pong and there's word games, and oh my gosh, even that, what was it, the Angry Birds, stuff like that is a great way to still connect with your kids, especially your teenagers. I know at my house, well, even this morning, actually, I was here, and my daughter, who's 18, doing online learning from home because she can't go into her residence, sent me a game of cup pong. I thought, that was interesting. Why would she send me that? She knows I'm at work. So I mentioned I played the game with her and then sent her a quick text and said, what's up? She was having a bit of a moment. She had something going on and she wanted to talk to mom. And because the game was already open, we had been playing those before, she thought that's a great way just to kind of initiate a conversation. So something as simple as an online game can help you to stay connected with your teen. During COVID, how many of us have brought our kids in the kitchen? You know, our teens really want to be able to show off their stuff. You know, go on Pinterest or wherever and let them find a recipe that they want to cook or bake. Chances are they really are going to surprise you. And while you're in the kitchen, you'll realize all of a sudden that that 4-year-old is now a 17-year-old, and that you can be with them and you can have those moments of talking about what they're doing, but more importantly, talking about why they're doing it and why they enjoy doing it in the kitchen with you. Using social media sites like Pinterest to your advantage with your teenager. Ask them to design their dream bedroom or their gaming room, whatever they seem to be into. What a great way to sit down with them. And for that moment, your teenager, I promise you, will look and say, wow, she really wants to know what my dream bedroom would be like. We may not be able to ever give it to them, But what a fun opportunity to actually show them that you're interested in something that they are interested in. Talk with them about some of your favorite music. You know, they forget, and we forget, that we were once their age, and it wasn't that long ago, you know, that I was the 18-year-old and getting ready to go off to university just like my daughter is. Remind them, and gosh, if you got some pictures, pull them out. You'll embarrass them a little bit for sure. You may embarrass yourself. But it's nice to be able to show them how you can relate a little bit to what they're doing. You may find with some of your challenging behaviors right now with your teenager is that they're going to tell you in no uncertain terms that you cannot understand what they're dealing with right now. And they'll throw the pandemic word around all the time because we can't. We can understand what it's like to be a teenager and the challenges that was, but we really don't know what it's like to deal with what they're dealing with, and being able to have that conversation with them is key. And again, the opportunity to remind them, yeah, I was a teenager and it was hard. You know, we didn't have, you know, the opportunity to do or use technology like you do. But what we do have is the opportunity to say, I was 18, I was 14, I was 12, you know, and this is how it was for me. So just having that conversation with them is really important. Make the movie, bring the movie experience home. That's kind of fun. You know, for many of us, we can't get out to the theaters like we used to, and that means they can't either. But there's nothing better than putting out a candy bar spread and some popcorn and saying, you pick the movie tonight, and you just kind of sit back as a family, just like you used to when they were, you know, into the Barbie movies or, you know, the younger movies that you would sit there and watch over and over and over again. This gives you an opportunity to sit with your teenagers and connect at their level. And just enjoy having them there. You may find it becomes a routine that, you know, every Friday night or every Saturday night may become movie night with your teenager. And if that happens, that's the best feeling in the world, because you know that no matter what the week is like, you guys have that moment as well.
Hey, Kim, I saw a great idea that you might like, and it just reminded me of there with the movie night, as I saw on Instagram a family doing a bowling night at home. So it was with their teens, and one other family did it as a couple, as a date night, and they took the hallway of their house, which was wooden floor, and they took the old school, like 3-year-old plastic bowling pins. They set them up. At the end of the hallway, they set up a little table and some chairs like you would have at the end of this thing. They went on Pinterest. They printed a score sheet, and they did a cutout of like a bowling sign and put it on the wall, like a, you know, bowl, you know, just with construction paper and markers, and had a bowling night in.
That's really clever.
So, because, you know, movie nights, I think we've all been enjoying those opportunities, or, you know, or we're trying to recreate theaters, and that's been very successful in my house with my littles. But this bowling thing, I thought, okay, that's pretty genius, actually. So, I wanted to share that with everybody, but also share that with you, because I know that you're always looking for fun to share with your families.
Yeah, that's a really great idea. You know, Pinterest has become for me more than just recipes and things like that, you know, in designing my dream home. But yeah, it's a great opportunity to think outside of the box, right? Like Michelle said, yeah, we're doing the movie nights, and those can be really successful. But type in activities to do at home with teens and run with it. And even go old school, you know. You'll be surprised some of the stuff that you did when you were younger, to bring it back and do it at home with the kids now. It's really kind of neat. And share those experiences wherever you can with as many of your friends and fellow parents as you can, because as I said, this is unprecedented. We've never done this before. So we're kind of getting the resources together on the fly. So we'll be making sure that we share that information with each other. Connecting with our preschooler and our younger children, a little easier, only because, you know, they'll pretty much kind of do everything that we want to do. The challenge is that because when we are finding ourselves, you know, a little anxious or dealing with some of our worries or stressors of employment or finances, or, oh my gosh, just trying to find childcare, you know, for the kids now, if you're working outside of the home during the pandemic, but the kids have to be learning from home, is difficult. So you may find you have less energy than you ever did before, but our kids aren't aware of that. They still want mom, they still want dad to get on the floor with them and play 4 games of Candyland, or to be able to play checkers, or to build the fort, or whatever it is that they want to do. They still want you at that same energy level because they're not aware of what we have on our mind. So it's important for us as parents just to remember that their world is filled with exciting adventures. They don't have the worries of what we do. However, what they do have is that sense of loss. Well, why can't I go to Girl Guides? Why can't I go to ballet? What do you mean I can't go to Grandma's house? You know, they know things have changed, so it's important for us to sit down with them and to acknowledge what their worries and their stressors are, but to also maintain and make time to engage with them and play with them. You know, we can get caught up working from home and learning from home and everything from home, but home still has to be a fun place for this age group because they really need that. And maintaining the connection now with these kids at your preschooler or your early elementary school age children is key because they're going to grow into those preteens and those teens. And the foundation that we're laying now and how we're connecting and speaking with them and engaging them now, it's kind of like investing in a business. The more you put into this business of parenting with these young children now is going to pay you dividends when they're the preteens and the teens who are, you know, kind of up to here sometimes with issues and concerns and challenging behavior. You know, laying the foundation now and connecting with your children now, whether it's through a pandemic or not, is really key in ensuring that your parenting experience will be a little bit more positive when they're older and you're really going to rely on that relationship that you have, you know, laid the groundwork for in the past. Some things to consider, and I've had a couple of essential workers who had said to me in the past couple of months that they're spending so much time away from home that they feel as if they're a deployed parent, and they're not the military member. You know, they're not used to this. They're not used to having to be away from home all the time. So I kind of likened it to a deployment where make a video of yourself reading a story to your kids and have it ready for them. Having the FaceTime opportunities on a break to make the connection. And I mentioned to a lot of the parents who are dealing with this, there's a lot of resources out there on parenting through deployment. Grab them, come in and we'll help you with that. Because if you're an essential worker and you're gone a lot, it's kind of like a deployment because you're like a frequent interval deployment if you're like a SAR person or someone who's gone, you know, extended hours, not necessarily for 2 or 3 or 6 months at a time, but a way that your children are knowing that, geez, you're not home again tonight. So kind of treat it as a deployment and seek out those types of resources as well. Something that's really fun for this younger group to do, especially if you're in a situation where you're not able to leave your neighborhood, you're not able to leave your home due to social gathering restrictions, is to go on a memory walk together and make a collage. This is really probably best for your 3 to 6-year-olds. You just basically wander around the yard, wander around the area that you're allowed to go to, pick up all kinds of things, bring it home, and literally go old school and you glue it or you attach it or you build it, everything you've picked up from your walk. And you have that little piece of art together. And some people have used that green oasis and the flower jars, and they've stuck all their twigs and all their gatherings in that, and they've placed that on their counter as a reminder that this piece of art represents something that we did together as a family. You know, younger kids love to put everything gluey and sticky on, but it's still kind of neat to be able to take some, even those older kids that are 6, 7, 8 out and pick things up and just say, well, here's something we can do, and ask them, what would you like to do? You know, if they're like, oh, I don't want to do that, that's the most boring thing in the world. Well, what would you like to do? And see if there's somehow that you guys can do that as a family. The silly Snapchat and FaceTime pictures that we make of each other, you know, you're a bunny rabbit, you're a cat, or you're a witch, or you're a princess. Those are fun, and my gosh, the belly laughs that you'll get with your kids when they see you, you know, with an egg head or those types of things. A year ago may have been a little annoying. Now, those giggle laughs, cuddle up together on a chair or laughing at each other, Those are your moments that you're going to hold on to and remember that, I can be silly still. In light of everything that we're dealing with, I still have that opportunity to be a silly mom or a silly dad. And date night. This is easy and fun, and it doesn't matter if they're 3 or if they're 18. Have a date night. While we can't go out, some of us, to restaurants right now, we can bring the restaurant experience home. So truly turn your home into a fancy restaurant, or if there's a favorite taco place you like to go to, or a theme kind of restaurant, but bring out the crystal stemware. Why not? And set the table fancy and put on that tiara or dress like a pirate if that's your theme, because we're forgetting that while there's lots of negativity around this pandemic, you can really make the best memories. So then in a couple of years, they're going to look back and say, hey, Mom, remember when you used to set the table like a fancy restaurant and then you'd just serve us pancakes? They'll have fun with this, and this may be something that they're going to cherish when they get a little bit older. I know that as a parent, it would be great for us to be able to have our kids say, boy, I really used to like when we did that way back when. So those are the types of moments that you can grab during this pandemic, because this time in 2 years, we may not be home doing these things that we have the opportunity to do now. So it's kind of nice to remember that, we can still engage with them and still have fun with them, just in a different way. And babies, how do you stay connected with a baby? That should be easy, right? Well, no. If you're a brand new mom, and I know we've had a couple families here that had their babies during the pandemic, and so they weren't able to get out to baby groups or have that extended family come in and, gosh, let's be honest, just show off our new baby. When we just came home from a hospital, we want to show our children off. And if you're home and there's no one around to show the baby off to, or to be able to celebrate that other than just inside your 4 walls, that can be really tough. So social distancing with a new baby is so different. Like I say, there's parenting groups, those Baby and Me programs, they've most likely stopped. So now it's a little trickier for us to foster those connections with other new moms and dads, as well as maintaining that connection with this new little bundle of joy. When you go to a baby group or a parent-taught program, it seems kind of silly for those of us that, have gone through and had a couple of children, but for a new mom or dad, sitting in a circle and singing simple songs to your baby is something that you've never done before. And it's nice to be around people who can lead that type of an activity or make it seem less awkward or less uncomfortable for you, because how many of you before you had your children would sit on the floor in the morning and sing the Itsy Bitsy Spider? Because probably not so many. We're having a coffee or we were running off to school or off to work. So in those parenting groups, those are the things that we're teaching our new moms and dads about doing. And it's not so much the songs, it's about connecting, engaging at the level that our little people can connect with us at, especially when language and whatnot is challenging with the baby. So it's all about us having the eye contact and sitting there with them. Make your own baby group at home. Bring out the pots and pans. Have fun in your moment at home with your baby. You've become mom, but you've also become that baby group facilitator at the same time. A simple thing to do, fill a 2-liter clear pop bottle with water and add some sparkles to it. You want a break as a parent? Make one of those up and you give that to your little one. They'll sit there. You'll get at least enough time to have a cup of coffee out of that activity. And any of the plastic containers and all those things. Just think of a blanket in your house as your own baby group, and jump on social media and see what else is there as far as ideas to connect with your baby. If you can FaceTime with other new moms or dads, do that. That's what we're doing here at the Family Resource Center in Greenwood. I can't have my families in here connecting with my typical baby group, so we're doing it through Zoom. Is it challenging? Oh my gosh, it really is. Is it worth it? 100%. When a mom says to me, this is the first time I've seen anybody else with children all week, it's worth it. It's not rocket science, right? They all say, oh, parenting's easy. It's not rocket science. Yeah, well, you're right. It's not rocket science, because rocket science is a whole lot easier, everybody. It comes with proven formulas, and And parenting, yeah, there's no proven formula. Most of us as parents are learning as we go, and we're developing our own, formulas on how we handle each situation the best way we can. Let's throw that global pandemic and boy, a nice dose of isolation, and we are absolutely in uncharted territory. There's nothing out there on how we navigate this. And when I started trying to find information for parents on parenting during isolation periods and things like that, there was like nothing. And I'm a huge fan of Barbara Coloroso and her parenting journals and books, but even she didn't have anything on this. So here we are, parents, I guess, trailblazers, as it were, so that if this ever happens again, if our next generation has to deal with parenting through social isolation or through a pandemic, then we've got the resources there for them. We can kind of lay the framework so they can see what were our best practices and what were the pieces of this that wasn't so successful, or what we could do over. The key is with anything when we're dealing with military lifestyle or we're dealing with parenting during a pandemic or what have you, is reaching out. If you find yourself struggling and you need that little bit of support, because we all do, it's okay to reach out to a friend or a family member, or gosh, that's why we're here as military family resource centers and support centers. We're here to be able to offer you that support, that information, that education, that knowledge on whatever it is that you're finding a challenge, whether it's parenting, whether it's mental health, whether it's a deployment. We typically get it. Somebody that you're going to talk to can say, yeah, I get it. I understand what you're going through. And remember, not everything works for everyone. While your other parents may say, oh, guaranteed this is going to work, don't beat yourself up if it doesn't. It might not work for you. You might need to tweak it a little bit, but that's okay. Make it your own. All right? And as parents, we want to be the best for our kids, hey? We want to take these uncertain times and make it as normal or as easy for our kids as we possibly can. But that does not mean that you have to take on the role as parent and educator and coach and best friend, because you can't. It's not possible. And tell your kids that. No, I'm not your teacher. No, I don't have all the answers for physics grade 11. No, I am not your coach, and I'm sorry that I'm not so great at kicking that soccer ball around. And I know you missed your best friend. I'm not your best friend. I'm still mom. Have that conversation with them and with yourself. You can't be everything. It's not possible. And it's not reasonable for you to expect that of yourself. Just be mom or just be dad. Be the best parent that you can be with what you're dealing with today. So the many restrictions and the closures and all that stuff that we're all dealing with, it's not going to last forever. We know that. We're almost 1 year into it. And boy, we've come a long way. And I'm so truly proud of the parents that I've worked with and my colleagues here at the center and my neighbors and my family members who have come so far in 1 year. In 1 year, if you had asked me if I would be doing virtual one-on-one parenting sessions, I would have thought, no, never. Not for me. It's not possible. No one will connect that way. And look at here we are now. I'm in Greenwood, Nova Scotia, and you guys are all over the U.S., and we're connecting as parents. If nothing else, that's the best takeaway from this pandemic we could ever ask for as parents, as military spouses. So just breathe a little deeper. Those moments are going to come and they're going to be challenging, but you absolutely are stronger and more resilient than you can even imagine. And I hope that everyone remembers that when you're having your most challenging day, think about it. 2 years ago, did you think you'd be able to get through this? And look at us. I have this little picture up because I giggle at every time I see it. And I think I actually stole this from Michelle Darrell from her days at the Greenwood MFRC as a deployment coordinator. And I think she had used this in the presentation to her colleagues when we were learning about the coordinator handbook that we have. And I said, don't forget, we're in this together. And I thought, well, that's just a bunch of geese. That's kind of goofy. But what I love about this picture is everybody gets tired. Every parent gets weary. You don't always have to be the lead goose. Sometimes you're going to let somebody else take that lead role And in your family, that may be your partner. That actually may be a teenager. Here, you take this one on for a little bit. That could be your best friend. That could be your mental health professional. Could be your pastor. It could be anybody that you can just kind of say, hey, can you take the lead? I'm not going to drop off. I'm just going to go to the back of the line and fly a little less hard today. I'll eventually get back to the front of the line again. But for right now, I just need a breather. And I think if nothing else, the takeaway from today is allow yourself to have that little breather. You don't always have to be the leader of the pack. You don't have to be the parent who knows all. You just have to be the parent and just get through this every single day. And that's about it for me. I think that's my last slide.
Kim, that was an awesome way to end that. And I think I just was typing in the chat at the end there. I feel like there is so much pressure on parents right now to be all of the things. You know, you see people posting all the time, well, now, you know, I've said it to myself, you know, I'm switching now from working mom to lunch lady as it becomes lunchtime. But no, you're right. I'm still mom. I'm mom making lunch. I'm not filling a void. I'm not filling a hole. And for me specifically, and I think maybe for others, that's a great reminder and an aha moment of you're still mom in those moments. Or you're still dad, or you're still parent or guardian in those moments, and you're not actually taking on the role of the other missing link. You're just trying to make it work as mom.
Right. Right.
Yeah, that's awesome. I wanted to open up the floor to see if anybody has any questions for Kim. You can let us know in the chat, or you can unmute as well. I will ask Joanna, maybe we can stop the recording now in case people have more specific questions that they'd like to ask.